Qualified, the podcast. I'm your host, Hassan. A few housekeeping items before we get started. Please like and subscribe to YouTube on the channel. You can also leave any comments that you like. We read them all. Also, listen and download on Stitcher and Spotify. The full RSS feed can be found on the website, www.qualifiedpodcast.com. The community is expanding. With that, I'd like to introduce you Natasha Ponciano and Josh Meyer. This is a travel team. The reason why I actually wanted to speak with them is because we both share a love for travel. They also are a team that produces a travel photography Instagram page. That in itself is Natasha Gets Lost. More on that later. However, the photos are beautiful. And what I found very interesting for that is because Josh takes the pictures. So essentially, this travel couple is a set up and knockdown type of situation where she does the beautiful poses, but the man behind the vision is Josh. So how are you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Awesome.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. We met, Josh and I met in the corporate world. We both have an aviation background outside of traveling a lot. Being that we're both in the industry and we swap stories on the side as we go, he told me, hey, you need to meet my girlfriend. You know, she's fantastic. So as he showed me the pictures, the first thing I thought is, who is she? Because I'm seeing all of these photos and he says, yeah, I took these. Wait, what? Like, what do you mean? You took them. This is in Korea, for argument's sake. So that means that, you know, the both of you were in Korea at the same time. So I would like for you guys to kind of reveal the secret about how that went. But we can start off with why traveling? What makes the travel bug so insightful and important for you guys?
Well, for me, I love to travel. I love to meet new people, first and foremost. I don't think that it's necessarily about the places you go or the things you see. I think for me, it's the people. And along with the people, it's the culture and the newness and just exploring other cultures other than your own and really diving deep, fully immersing yourself in those things with an open mind. And it's really just an adventure exploring.
Yeah, I always love getting lost in a new city and, you know, checking out the new culture and see how other people live life from day to day and, you know, really getting to know the locals and seeing what they're all about and seeing how much that we have in common with them also. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably the reason why we, you know, started talking about this so much. And then you made mention of, you know, oh, how many countries have you been to? And I said, well, I don't know, a couple. Because, you know, it's hard to not sound pretentious. You know what I mean? So like when you're around certain people, they just know because they also do it too. But when you're around folks who generally don't, you kind of reserve that question. And I bounced it back to you and you said, I think close to 50. I said, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I can just say 20. I can say 20 plus and it'd be okay because, you know, we're not in the same weight class. But the experiences that you got were a little different than mine. And I do agree with immersion. I really do. I think that, you know, if you can stay and learn the language, that means you stay there for a very long time. But there is something that you can gain from being in the moment, at a location, immersing yourself into society, seeing yourself from a social setting of an observer, so to speak. And I agree with you. I kind of welcome that adventure too. So I was talking to Josh off camera. Are you both city people? Like when you travel, do you both like the city?
I'm very much a city person. I grew up outside of Toronto. So the city life is, for me, the ultimate life. I love having different restaurants to go to. I love public transportation. You know, there's something that you can do, whether it's go to a museum, sit at the park, you know, even going to the grocery store is an adventure. You're meeting new people. There's always hustle and bustle around you. It depends though, where we go on vacation, for example, or where we travel to. Sometimes I crave that quiet. Sometimes I crave, like Versailles, for example, when you go and visit that place that's outside of Paris, it's just this incredible I guess, forest of history. There's Marie Antoinette's cabin and cottage, and then there's also, the huge Versailles Castle. But around there is nothing but, forest and small towns until you hit Paris, which is what most people think of.
That's true.
But I personally am a city girl, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love the city too. Just the nightlife a lot, and the restaurants, like she said, and trying new food, and all the people and the culture around too is really interesting to me. Exciting.
And the accessibility in a big city too, like whatever you want to do, it's there for you. Yeah. And that's what I love about a big city. And I think to talk about when you were saying that, immersing yourself in the language, I think George Carlin said it best. He said, a smile is the same in every language.
That's true.
So even when you don't know what they're talking about, if you're smiling and nodding and open to learning, they want to chat with you. They want you to, they're interested in you just as much as you're interested in them.
I agree. Let me preface something real quick for the audience. Number one, you grew up outside of Toronto. Mm-hmm. You grew up in Florida.
Correct.
Okay. Where in Florida?
Clearwater, Florida.
Clearwater, Florida. Okay. Also, you were both travel professionals prior to me meeting you. We'll talk about what you're into currently in a moment. But for that, the reason why you've accessed so many countries was due to the airline that you worked for. Could we call it an airline, or was it just a charter jet company?
It's an airline.
Okay.
Call it that.
So the airline that you worked for contracted you both as cabin attendants. And for that, you literally had access to everywhere that those flights went to. For the sake of clarification, when you're flying international as a flight attendant on a commercial airline, those lines run in certain sections. They don't really go where charter flights go, because the charter flights will go literally wherever the clients need them to. So if you fly United, for argument's sake, it might take you to Singapore eventually, but you're probably going to bounce to 2 or 3 tech stops before that. This is different. So you guys were staying on ground for approximately how long per stop?
Anywhere from 8 hours to sometimes we would get lucky and get 36 hours.
Sometimes the plane would break and we would get a week and a half, honestly. That's what I would hope for every single time, which sounds horrible as a flight attendant. But if it was a place that you'd love, and there's a mechanical issue, I would cross my fingers and just I hope we stay here. I hope we're grounded in Naples for 2 weeks. That's my dream.
Just get a flat tire and just no nitrous anywhere,
I used to joke I'm going to throw a quarter into the engine so we can stay here for a little bit longer.
I'm glad you didn't do that. But that's amazing. So between the both of you, how many countries do you think you've chatted up?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really actually counted mine. I think I'm around 40-ish.
I am 36 out of 190. I think there's 196 countries now. I think there was a new country added recently, right? Yeah. Last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So 36 is where I'm at right now for countries.
Isn't that crazy? Because initially they talk about it being 208. And so you can say, oh, okay, well, I've done 40, S countries. Now they reduce the number. It's kind of like Pluto not being a planet anymore.
Right.
It's not fair because, I had a tally count here that I was really trying to work with. That's great. That's great. So that's 70, 80, I guess, more or less. High 70s, low 80s.
We've been to a lot of countries together too, so.
Okay.
And that's always my fun fact. I'm like, give me a fun fact about you. And I'll pull out, I've been to 36 out of 196 countries, 198, whatever it is.
Just get that tattoo. 36 out of 1. Now you're going to have to change it when they decide to annex this again, right? Just scratch it.
Right.
I had a discussion earlier today when we were talking about souvenirs, because, I try to collect a lot of trinkets when I go. And it doesn't matter if I'm in the city or rural, but what do you guys like to collect just as memories, when you're going?
I'm laughing. Are we talking about what I like to bring home legally, or are we talking about, so I love to bring things home that, I usually don't bring things home for me unless it's clothing or something that I could reuse. It's usually trinkets for other people that I know that they'll appreciate. But I don't know. We collect magnets, so we have a magnet from Baltimore, from, Positano. We have a magnet from Tokyo. So that's something that you started at your old house.
Yeah, literally a whole refrigerator full of magnets.
Okay.
I remember running through the Ohio airport, like, I need a magnet from Cleveland. Everyone's like, okay, Natasha, we'll get you one. Calm down.
It's okay. But the question that when you brought that up and you said, I bring things for other people, were you always that way? Or when did it change over? Like, had you just amassed so many countries that now you just don't want souvenirs for yourself per se?
I don't know. I think that growing up, that's the way that my parents showed love to me, was through the love language of gifts. So when I go anywhere, that's the way that I show love. I try to be thoughtful, and because they can't experience where we were, I like to tell stories and say, oh, we brought something for you. And the story is important. So for example, when we were in Peru and we were on our 4-day trek, we went through little cities, and in those cities there are people that are there sewing these beautiful, handbags that obviously the prices are jacked up because they have to make money in those rural cities.
Sure.
But it's not really about, okay, that you're paying a little bit more for this item, but it's the story that's behind it. So not only can we support a local cause or a local business or a local family just trying to make it in the rural areas, but we can also bring something home for our families and tell them a great story. Like we saw this woman sewing this, and there was 50 guinea pigs on her floor. Like, it was nothing. It was just something that was normal for everyday life. And that story and that trinket, I think, or that whatever we bring for them is that special moment where we get to talk about the trip, but also they get to feel good too, because there's something that they can grasp in their hand that they can say, oh, look.
Yeah.
But if there is a big trip, I will try to, I think of Paris, I think, okay, I know I want these pair of shoes. This is something that's my dream. Or I want, a bag that's an atelier, something that's very specific. Yeah. But I go into that knowing, okay, this is what I'm going to get. Yeah. I'm coming home, I'm leaving space for my suitcase because I know I'm going to do a lot of shopping.
This is making me laugh because my mindset for that is automatically shoes. Like, it's just going to be shoes. So in Paris, I agree with you 100%. Versailles was beautiful, but the first thing that I thought when we were driving up there is that, wow, this was really quiet. It's just not in Paris anymore.
Right.
And the driver came, he picked us up from Le Bourdonnais, was the hotel, I remember. And we were leaving Paris, and he hit the highway. And then everything kind of looked like Georgia, like the rolling hills, and the forestry. Where are we going? And then we finally get to Versailles, and it just opens up. It's almost like you're in a town at that point.
It is, yeah.
And then you're looking at the gigantic palace. I had a really good time out there. I really did. Great memories in Paris. Do you have activities that you really think about, like in your pregame? When you go out of country, what do you like to do?
I think there's definitely a pregame plan for sure, especially when it comes to photos. These are things that I'll research a hashtag, for example. So let's just say I'm going to, we'll keep using Paris as an example. I'll hashtag Versailles, I'll hashtag the specific place or thing or whatever that we're doing. I'll hashtag that and look through those photos and say, oh my gosh, let me check this out. And I'll click that hashtag, and it broadens your perspective. You're like, wow, this is a really cool secret spot. This is how you get to it, because this community of traveling, social media has so many ups and downs, but one of their ups is this community that you build with other people. You may not have ever met them before, but they inspire you because of their photos. Right. So I think we definitely have a game plan. I do anyways, sure. Selfishly when it comes to photos. But sometimes the best days are when it's just a random free day and you're exploring.
Yeah, Google Maps is definitely a good tool to use, especially if you haven't been there before. Yeah. You can easily see everything around, different restaurants, different photo spots. Yeah. You can put it in satellite view even, and you can see like the landscape and,
Yeah, for sure.
It's really useful.
I think my pregame has always been, and I don't know if it's not just me being a take charge person. I think that the pregame for the traveling has kind of been my responsibility, just based on my level of excitement when I go somewhere. Because for me, I openly confess that I never deserved any of this. So just the ability to be able to go travel, see things, take yourself out of the environment that you're in, or even, subjectively thought to be in, and be somewhere else. I always thought that it was an opportunity that would never happen again. So even in Hong Kong, when I lived there, I maxed out. I just maxed out, like whatever it is, tourist to living level. I wanted to see it because I was pretty sure I was never coming back. And then I went back. Now I can just live. Like now I can just be here and be just a citizen, more or less, because I had seen everything that, the touristy side of it would naturally be. But the pregame, when it comes down to a trip, I used to play a game previously called 72 hours. And that's just my challenge. If I had to be somewhere for 3 days, what would I do? And that's when I would Google everything. And then I would just make a 20 item list, and then we'll refine that to 10, and then get to actually buying tickets and booking things in pre-advance. So
I think that's a good mindset to have, is when you visit a place, think of it might be your last time ever going there. So you want to do as much as you can and see as much as possible while you're there, just in case you don't get a chance to come back.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was going to say, sometimes it burns a hole in your wallet thinking like that, but when you're in that moment and you're thinking, okay, I don't know if I'm ever going to be here again.
Yeah.
And that same mindset of 72 hours is kind of the same mindset you have as a flight attendant, because sometimes that 72 hours actually dwindles down to 24 hours.
Yeah.
And what can you do? How can you maximize your trip in these amounts of time?
Yeah.
And that's when you have to do your research. Okay, how long is it going to take for me to get a rental car here? Okay, let's go here. Plan it out accordingly. But usually how we travel is we find what we really want to do. We each have a list, and then we're like, okay, what can we fill in from this list of these are things that are must-dos?
Sure.
Let's figure out, okay, we have 3 days here, 2 days here, 1 day here.
Yeah.
And then we figure out what we really want to do from there.
Yeah. The last thing on Paris before I move on. So I went when I was in a previous relationship, and it was on me to kind of determine what all we would do. And I will credit all of this to Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace, because I would just watch No Reservations and try to figure out where we were going to go. So of course we need to see the Eiffel Tower, but what there are we going to do? We're going all the way to the top? Are we going to have lunch there? Are we going to travel down Champs-Elysees? Like, we just needed to know, I needed to know these things as a strategy. We finally did that. But the joke of it, the anecdote to it, is that she was exhausted. I mean, but for me, I was just a squirrel on cocaine. I'm just, we're going to do this. Tomorrow's that. Admittedly, I forgot to put the relax part in there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you really need that. So I learned from it. We have that location in common. I think we should probably do a top 10 list of places, and let's see if we have them in common.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
I've never been to Paris.
You've never been to Paris?
No.
But you went to France?
Yes.
Where in France did you go?
We went to Strasbourg. Yes, that was fun. They have one of the biggest Christmas markets in Bavaria, I think it is. Okay. But Strasbourg is basically on the border of Germany and Paris. So it's, and France. So there's a lot of German influence, but also everyone parle français there. So it's like, it's a very cool town. And
also, isn't that where Anthony Bourdain passed away?
In Strasbourg, yes, actually.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And he's one of my biggest inspirations as well. People say, who's your celebrity crush? And I say, if Anthony Bourdain and Trudeau had a baby, that would be like my dream man for sure. I cried when he passed away. It really hit me hard. Not only is he a chef, but he does what he wants. He has, it's hard because he was struggling internally so much, but he's just a badass who loves to travel and loves to, vive la résistance. He's always got his middle fingers up in the air. What he wants to do. And I love that mindset. My dad's a chef, so I consider myself, a chef's daughter. And when I started working in kitchens in college and in high school, I read his book, Kitchen Confidential, basically just about him and his life as a line cook in New York City and just surviving. And that, that takes grit. That's hard work, especially seeing my father grow up in that industry and seeing how it affected him in similar ways that it affected Anthony Bourdain. It really, there's a soft spot for anyone that I meet that has worked in kitchens, because it's like, you have to have tough skin. You have to know what battles to pick and choose and fall in line when you have to. And he's amazing. I could talk about him all day. Yeah,
for sure. No, a friend of mine actually did an internship for a culinary art school, and she was in Vigo, and that's right by the port. So that's Vigo, Spain. And it was just beautiful. The picture that she showed me, she's working as a line cook at a hotel, and she had stories for days. And she finally came back in. She said that was a learning experience that you can never get anywhere else. And said, you can cook, but to do this in this environment, that's pretty hardcore. I respect it too. So Let's play a game. It's not like I had a game scheduled, by the way. Let's just play a game. Give me individually your 5 favorite places. Let's see if we have them in common.
5. Okay, let me think.
You got yours already?
Yeah, but I got a short list. You guys got a longer list to choose from.
Well, I know my number 1 is Tokyo, Japan. That's
Okay.
definitely my favorite.
Okay.
I don't know what my number 1 is, but in my top 5 for sure is Barcelona. I love Italy, specifically, but it has to do with the experience too. So Rome, even though it's dirty and crazy and there's so much there, I just had such a great time. So that always comes up first in my favorite places to travel.
I liked Romania a lot.
Okay.
I had a really good time in Romania. Your dollar goes a long way there, and there's a lot of beautiful architecture and art there. That was a cool city. Very cool.
You mentioned that before. When we talked about it before, you had me thinking about it ever since you said it.
Really?
And even earlier today, Linda mentioned Bulgaria. Gee, again, Eastern Bloc European countries I would never even thought about, right? Never even thought about going to. So Romania, Tokyo and Romania. So that's 1 and 2.
Switzerland. Switzerland is absolutely beautiful. Your money does not go a long way there. Everything's super expensive.
You gotta bring your wallet to Switzerland.
But visually speaking, based on landscapes, Switzerland has been the most beautiful place that I've ever been to, I think.
Okay.
Visually.
Really cool domestic spot. I like Savannah, Georgia. It's beautiful.
What season?
I don't know. I think I've only been in the springtime.
That's probably why I sold you on it, honestly. Yeah, just because of the turn of the leaves and that's the new transition over and everything's green and lush. Yeah, I get that.
The food definitely is great. The southern food there is perfect.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have a barbecue discussion, but yes, we can definitely agree on that.
I mean,
I like Germany a lot.
I do like Germany. I think we spent so much time there though that I felt burnt out on Germany just a bit. But it's history, it's the craziest thing is when you travel, especially to Europe. Here in the United States, the oldest state or building is 1700s, in the era. And when you go to Europe, it's completely different. It's like, this is 3000 BC 8, and you're just like, okay, wow, this is a whole nother.
We're in a ruin.
This is really romantic because it's this old and this history is there, and like you are literally standing on a war zone where people fought wars, or people, this is the second thing that's been up here, and it's insane. That's what I love, is the history, and that's museums is something that we always try to do wherever we go, because that's something that we both enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot about a relationship too, is when, that's how I know in previous relationships, when you travel with someone, if you can mesh well and vibe together while you travel, that says a lot about your relationship.
It does.
Because you'll think you'll really, really enjoy someone, or you really like someone, and you go on a trip with them and everything they do makes you cringe. The way that they eat, the way that they order, the way that they shuffle around, it's just like mind blowing, And that's, I think if you travel a lot, that's something that you pay attention to, especially in your relationships.
Yeah, no, it's a different partnership, because you're now saying we're going to be in a space together, and let's just call that 200 square feet, but we're going to be in a 200 square foot location for a bit of time. We're going to share a cabin en route. We're going to be at this place for 72 hours, and we are responsible for each other. We made an agreement that we were going to do these things, see these places, eat this stuff, and get back home safe. And it's hard. It is hard. It's a new challenge. I won't call it hard, but I will call it a new challenge, and everyone isn't built for that, no matter how cute you think they are.
Right.
They're cute in America. You take that on the road somewhere, and then you end up arguing on a train en route to Belgium. It's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling.
I think that's the true test. One of the true tests in your relationship is if you can travel comfortably together, then your relationship is going somewhere.
I think we had like a good 3-month stretch where we were together. 4 months.
4 months every single day for 4 months we spent together traveling.
Yeah.
And we didn't even really realize until we were like, oh my gosh, we haven't been away from one another for 4 months. For people who are two independent people, it's It's pretty crazy. Usually after 30 hours, I'm like, okay, I need my space.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's magical. I mean, I think, honestly, I'm not doing that to be patronizing. I think that it is helpful to know who you're next to. I say that, I've been saying that a whole lot, but I mean it more so now, you know, when you get around people of like minds and understand, you know, what makes a good team and what doesn't, right? You didn't finish your list, but while you're thinking, I'm gonna give you mine.
Okay.
I'm just gonna give you mine. Number one, Morocco. So that is the most recent of my out of country trips, but it has a very sensitive and personal meaning to me. So I'm always going to count that as my number one. After that, Hong Kong, because I'm incredibly biased. I miss all my friends, I miss all my family. And then England, again, being hyper biased. However, there's a lot about it. I can explain the whys to it, but those are my three. And I'm taking this from the furthest side of the world all the way back in. Canada, specifically Montreal, because it looks like a Hallmark card, you know, towards the winter. I had never seen anything like that. At this point, when I travel, because we're in Texas and it's always hot, I want to go somewhere cold. So, you know, discounting the freeze has just happened. We got all the cold we need.
Oh my God.
But the generally when I take holiday, I want to go somewhere cold, just to see something different. And the toss-up was, my birthday is January 1st. So I was going to go chase the Northern Lights. That was my plan. It just so happened that I was starting to expect my son. So I can't do my A100 crazy stuff that I usually do because I may not come back home. So Northern Light trip was what I settled on. I was going to go with Alaska or Tromsø in Norway, Iceland, or Canada. That's what I was going to do. That didn't work out. So I decided to let's just do Montreal instead because I'd already been in Toronto, and I did the best New Year's Eve party you could probably have in Toronto. That was amazing in years prior. So this time I didn't want to duplicate that. So I went to Montreal instead, and I was blown away. It's a quieter city. It's French, you know, French inspired. French colonized, and it also looks.
I was going to say, don't say French inspired because someone's going to chop your head off.
Yeah, no, they're really French.
They want to be their own. They want to be their own independent country.
Do they?
Yeah, they basically want to be their own thing. So when people say like, "Oh, you're Canadian," they're like, "No, I'm from Montreal. Like I'm from Montreal. Like we're our own thing." Like they want to be separated from Quebec and be completely. They want Quebec to be completely separated from Canada and be like their own country.
Where have we heard that before? Texas, are you listening? Thank you for the correction. Actually, one of my friends jokes and says, "You're an anthropologist." And I said, "Probably not, but I really do enjoy people and society and understanding how that system works when I leave, because I know how this works, and this has its goods and bads. But elsewhere, I'm a student. I'm legitimately just looking and observing."
Yeah.
So Montreal was my third, right? I won't go domestic. I'm not going to do domestic. Yeah, it does get hard.
It's hard.
Yeah, it does.
I think top three.
Okay, top three is it. It's
Top three.
Top three.
Okay. You have your top three?
I'm gonna throw Peru in there.
Oh yeah.
We had a really good time there.
I honestly
That was our
have the
last trip,
worst.
I think, right?
Yeah, I have the worst memory too. So probably when I'm going to bed at night, I'll be like, "Oh my goodness, I forgot about this place." You know.
Yeah.
Peru was great. I loved Peru. South America. That was our first South American trip.
Yeah, my Central Americans were, Belize was amazing, but yeah, Belize was amazing. However, it's a resort-driven vacation. So like, it's not like I got immersed into the people. When I finally did go into town, I got so close to Mexico that, that was very, very unique in terms of what Orange Walk and Sugar City looked like. But I was staying on a resort in, a separate island all the way out 45 minutes away from Belize City. And I would recommend anyone go to Belize and, see and experience it. But I just don't really count that as one of my favorite places though. Central America in itself, not bad at all. Really nice, very pretty. Dollar goes a good distance, but I'm not 100% sure I would put that on my faves. So yeah, if we left it at top three, I would go city. So, Hong Kong, London, Montreal for the view. Yeah.
I think I would do Paris because I love the history in Paris, Musée d'Orsay, the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, like all these beautiful things.
Sure.
Cathédrale de like Sacré-Cœur, like just the beautiful things that you can see that I learned about. I was in French immersion growing up and lived in Canada, so
Sure.
that's that history. Just seeing history in real life is crazy.
Okay.
And just the romantic aspect of Paris, going on the Champs-Elysees, getting a macaron, trying, drinking coffee, just all of that romanticized into one city. Barcelona, because I love that it's a beach and city at the same time. And because I spent a lot of time in Florida, I would say like I grew up in Florida in quotations. I went to college and high school there.
Okay.
I just love the beach. And then I also love the city life, and anywhere there's a big ham of, prosciutto hanging on every storefront, that's probably going to be my favorite city.
Right.
And then I would say somewhere in Italy. I love Italy, but I know that's not, I wouldn't say that's concentrated enough, but Positano is just breathtaking and beautiful. But the history again in Rome is...
Yeah. We really traveled a lot when we were in Italy. We would go to a lot of different places.
Yeah.
We wouldn't just stay in the same city for more than a day.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a really good time there.
Some of my favorite photos I've ever taken are from Positano, I think.
My thing of Morocco and why I like it so much is it's not about anything other than I think I had a spiritual awakening out there. So it just kind of drives into my head like that I needed to be there. But I can't say anything from a touristy aspect of it. It's just that I was in South Spain and I took a boat down to Morocco and there I was.
Right.
But for me, it was amazing. I don't know if anyone else would really look at the travel rating, the security rating, safety ratings. You can see the beach, you can ride a camel. You're gonna have some amazing food. You're gonna see beautiful people.
The spices,
Oh, God,
the
the spices.
smells.
Oh, the figs. Just the smell of the open marketplace. But if that's not your thing, then that's not the place where you should be.
Right.
For fun, if you could recommend one thing to do in your favorite 3 cities, what would that be?
Well, for Positano, I definitely recommend taking the ferry so you have to fly into Naples. You can't just hop onto the Amalfi Coast unless you have a private chartered plane.
Sure.
But so you go to Naples, you hop on a ferry, it takes you to Sorrento, Capri, all those places. But we got off in Sorrento, rented a scooter, and then drove along the coast to Amalfi, to Positano, to, I think it's Rapasano.
Sounds right.
Mm-hmm. And it was, being on the back of a moped, hanging on to the love of your life and just looking around, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I can hear accordions when she says this, by the way, you know what I mean? You just, I get it. That's adorable. That's incredibly romantic. It really is.
It's crazy because, when you are walking around the city, there are people playing accordions and walking by.
You have to give them €1, but
They'll follow you around.
Right. We ran out of gas while doing that too, so that was an adventure.
Yeah, trying to find a place to sell you some gas when you don't even speak Italian is
Nice.
a little challenging.
Nice.
How did we end up getting gas?
We went to like a boat dock
Oh yeah.
and bought like a bag of gas. Like the guy didn't even want to sell it to us, and we like begged him, please, we have to get back.
Also, my mind was blown because I didn't know the same gas that you could put in a moped was the same gas you put in a boat.
Mm.
And maybe that's because I really don't know. I don't have knowledge when it comes to
Sure.
mechanics or boats. And I was like, what do you mean? You're going to put that in the moped? Josh was like, yeah, it's the same
It
gas.
burns the same.
I'm like, what?
Boom.
Mind blown.
Learned.
There's a Polaroid we have actually of Josh just holding a bag, a canteen, a bag of gas.
Nice. I have a Polaroid of me with my Captain Morgan leg on top of my moped in Thailand, holding a keychain with a teddy bear on it.
Nice.
Like that's and there's nothing cute about why I was in Thailand, but it was, that moment was uniquely silly. I always thought that was good. Okay, so that's your one. What's your one?
Probably in Tokyo, I guess. I love ramen. Ramen's my favorite. So I've done like a lot of research on all the different types of ramen and famous like ramen bars to go to. It's just like really impressive to me like how much time and dedication and hard work these chefs like put into their food.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool experience to go watch them,
So I didn't do Japan, but in Hong Kong they do the soba noodle, and it's hot. It's hot. Like my face melted when I had this, and I got the college kids over here on the other side of the table, and they're just slurping this down like it's nothing. You ordered the same thing I did, but it was that Chinese pepper. You know, the one that makes you go numb.
Szechuan, Szechuan pepper.
Can't deal.
My favorite.
Can't deal with it.
Makes your tongue all tingly. Pulls the corners of your mouth up. Smile, drool, all the good things.
Wasn't smiling. Wasn't smiling at all. My face went numb, and I got nervous and said, "Oh no, not again," because I thought there was just something else in there. And no, okay, it's just the pepper. I didn't enjoy that. That was too hot for me. And I like spice.
I think it might have tricked you because of the tingling. You might have thought that it was really spicy, but it could have just been the tingling to the tongue.
You're probably right.
Because it's like mind-boggling because it tricks you the way that it coats the tongue, and it makes it feel like you're sticking your tongue in Pop Rocks.
I agree. I'm gonna go with London. And the reason why I'm gonna go with London is because it allows you, MTR access, so you can actually take, and put it on a Oyster card. It's an Oyster card for them, Octopus card for Hong Kong. So the Oyster card is the one that allows you to just travel wherever you need to go. Doing the train system in London for me was mind blowing, because we're here, we don't have a train system like that. There's no subway, but doing the London Underground and essentially going to the London Overground to take you outside of the city, I thought that was the best adventure that you can have from a domestic capacity and not too crazy. You're still in a place that's relatively safe, language is pretty common. I thought that was good. If anyone was asking what I would recommend just for an international trip, I'd say if you're city bound, go to London, put some money on the Oyster card and take yourself outside of there. And you might find yourself, probably down into Kent and Hythe, seeing the seaside towns. Those are beautiful. Those are beautiful. Have proper fish and chips, but quite honestly, everyone's going to argue that theirs is the best. So, but I would recommend that. So
you're a pro at the Tokyo. He can get through the Tokyo subway line without a phone. And if you see the Tokyo subway line, it's numbers and not. So a lot of the times, like in Paris, there's 3 or 4 main lines. In Tokyo, how many do they have? Hundreds.
Yeah, there's a lot. They mostly go by colors, but the Japanese characters, you can't really make out a word, or some languages you can put pieces together and figure out where you're going, but it's just all symbols and stuff, so you can't really go by that. It's mostly by the colors.
You're a professional there. Ramen tour, I would say, in Tokyo.
Ramen tour in Tokyo. Not Mario Kart. The Mario Kart
I
experience.
haven't done that. I want to, but next time I go, I think I'm going to do it. Okay.
We have a plan next time. We're going to do more of the touristy things. The robot cafe.
Yeah.
Sumo wrestling.
Sumo wrestling. We want to go to Kyoto and check out the bamboo forest.
Wow. Okay.
One thing I will say about Japan is, I think it's not my favorite because of just their culture is very quiet, and I'm very quiet, reserved, kind of similar to Josh's personality. And I'm opposite. I'm loud. I'm rambunctious. I like to make noise, and so I feel almost like I'm tiptoeing in my grandma's house every time I'm in Tokyo. I'm always like, oh, don't be so loud, don't be so obnoxious. Remind yourself, don't be American, or don't act like an American. Sure. I'm Canadian, for the record. For the record, if everyone's listening. No, but the thing about the Japanese culture that I love is everything they do, whether it's, I'm a ramen chef, whether it's I'm a hairdresser, whether it's I'm a barista, they put their heart and soul into that. Yeah. So that's why arguably they'll say that the best food is in Tokyo, because they perfect what it is that they're doing. And that's their livelihood.
I agree with that. People can argue that there are some downsides to having a not necessarily a classist society, but it is effectively that this is the role that you're in. They embrace that with a mindset of 100% dedication, right? I talk about this. It's not a joke with me. I literally do this as a system. When I talk to the photographers or we're setting up anything for creative direction, here is the plan. This is what we are doing. Should we need to improvise, then we will. But we're not going to just because the time and availability is there. I don't do that. The Americanized plan is to plan it and improvise as needed. The Japanese plan is really more plan the work the plan. Just do it. This is what we're doing. Stick to the script. they love and hate me for that, but that's okay. I love you guys. This has been really fun. This has been really fun talking about this. I would like for you guys to tell the people where they can find you.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram, Natash Gets Lost, Natash Gets Lost. And also youtube.com/Natash or /C/Natasha Gets Lost.
And we'll post that too.
Yeah.
So you guys have it. Okay. So this is part one, guys. Just to let you know, this is part one. Part two is coming soon. But this has been the Qualified Podcast episode, Perks of the Job with Natasha and Josh. For more information, of course, you will find her YouTube link in the comments section, in the description section, as well as the Instagram handle. For any likes and subscriptions, we would greatly appreciate it. Please also comment your favorite locations to travel. We've got a lot of countries between us. We can continue this conversation all night long. But until then, please also find us on Stitcher and Spotify, as well as on the website. The RSS feed is available. This has been Qualified Podcast with Natasha and Josh.